The rain had started sometime before twilight. A soft drizzle at first, barely more than mist, then slowly thickening into a steady, soothing rhythm. The kind of rain that doesn't chase you indoors in a rush but instead invites you to walk slower, breathe deeper, and listen. It was on such a night that you found yourself wandering through the cobblestone streets of the old quarter, your umbrella tilted just slightly, not to stay dry, but to watch the soft amber glow of the lanterns through the falling rain. Most shops were closed by now, their lights dimmed, their windows dark. But the street carried a certain magic when it was nearly empty, hushed and secretive, like it was revealing something only to you. Then you saw it. The Midnight Brew. The name was written in curling hand-painted script on an aged wooden sign that swayed gently above a narrow brick doorway. It looked like it had been there for decades. Maybe longer. Lantern light flickered from within, and through the slightly fogged window, you could see the golden glow of lamps, the faint silhouette of someone turning a page, and the curl of steam rising from a waiting cup. You paused just outside the door. Something about it made you feel as though you were standing at the edge of a dream. A place both new and familiar, like walking into a memory you hadn't made yet. You reached for the doorknob. It was warm to the touch. The interior of the Midnight Brew was nothing short of enchantment. The floor was made of worn wooden planks that creaked just enough to feel lived in, not loud enough to disturb. Soft rugs covered much of the space, earth-toned, patterned, slightly faded in the best way, as if hundreds of peaceful nights had soaked into their fibers. A crackling fire burned in the hearth at the back of the room, casting a soft amber glow across the walls. Shelves full of mismatched books lined one side of the café, and an antique phonograph in the corner played slow, warm jazz that poured like honey into every corner of the room. The air smelled like ground cinnamon, steamed milk, and something deeper, maybe roasted hazelnuts or the faintest touch of orange peel. It wrapped around you gently, settling deep into your lungs and softening everything. There were tables scattered across the room, round and square, tall and low, each with its own little lamp or candle, and a few with tiny potted plants nestled among old novels and half-drunk mugs. No two chairs were the same, and that made them all the more perfect. They weren't chosen for appearance but for comfort. For soul. Only a handful of guests sat quietly throughout the room, reading, sipping, writing. No one spoke above a hush. Some smiled at you in that way only truly relaxed people can, no effort, just soft welcome. Behind the counter stood a barista. He looked to be in his late 50s, with soft eyes, gentle hands, and a sweater that looked like it had been knit by someone who loved him. He looked up as you entered and gave a small, knowing smile. "Welcome," he said quietly. "First time?" You nodded. "I think so." He simply nodded once in return, as though he'd been expecting you. "Find a spot. I'll bring you something warm." You hesitated for a moment, but something about the certainty in his voice reassured you. There was no menu, but somehow, you felt you wouldn't need one. You wandered toward the fire. There was a little table near the fireplace, round, wooden, with a thick velvet cushion on the seat beside it. A folded woolen blanket was draped across the back of the chair, just waiting to be used. As you sat down, you noticed how everything seemed to adjust around you, like the café itself was sighing with relief that you'd arrived. Outside the tall windows, the rain danced on the cobblestones. Inside, the fireplace popped and hissed gently, the flames dancing lazily. Nearby, a large tabby cat stretched and curled itself back into a tighter ball on a plush rug by the hearth. You looked around, soaking in the slowness. The couple 2 tables over shared a piece of warm apple tart, whispering as they passed it back and forth. In a corner booth, a teenager in a yellow raincoat doodled quietly in a sketchpad, occasionally smiling at their drawings. By the bookshelf, a woman browsed titles by the light of a little lamp, running her fingers along the spines with reverence. And then your drink arrived. The barista set it down with both hands, carefully, as though it were a gift. Lavender oat milk latte, he said with a soft smile. You looked like you needed something calming. You didn't argue. The drink's scent alone was enough to begin dissolving the tension from your shoulders. You wrapped your hands around the warm ceramic mug, letting the heat seep into your palms. The mug was handmade, blue glazed, with tiny flecks of gold that shimmered in the firelight. The first sip was perfection. Smooth, floral, creamy, with a hint of honeyed sweetness. It tasted like a quiet morning, like bare feet on a wooden floor, like being wrapped in your favorite blanket while the world whispered outside. You sighed and let yourself sink deeper into the chair, blanket pulled around your shoulders now. Your eyes drifted closed for just a moment. And when they opened again, the room somehow felt even more still. In the corner, beside the fire, something caught your attention. A book. But not just any book. /n. It sat on a small wooden pedestal, open to a blank page, with a feather quill and inkwell beside it. A card, tucked into the corner of the stand, read: The Book of Whispers. Leave behind something gentle. You stood slowly, drawn to it without entirely knowing why. The firelight danced on its pages. You stepped closer, and as you did, you noticed faint writing in the margins, words from others before you. I forgave myself today. My mother's humming lives in this page. It's okay to rest. You picked up the quill. The ink glistened like liquid night. You stared at the page for a moment, then wrote: I forgot how good it feels to feel safe. You set the quill down, heart lighter, and return to your chair. Your drink was still warm, the blanket softer than before, the fire crackled, and the jazz had shifted to a slow piano number, just above a whisper. You didn't check the time. No one did here. Time was something that drifted like the steam from your mug, rising and curling, then disappearing without worry. Eventually, the barista returned, not to rush you, but to quietly place a small plate beside your mug. A slice of lemon cake, drizzled with lavender glaze, garnished with a candy violet. A note in delicate cursive sat beside it. A little sweetness for the night. On the house. You smiled. Took a bite. Let the citrus melt on your tongue. Outside, the rain hadn't let up, but here, wrapped in warmth and softness, you couldn't imagine being anywhere else. It wasn't just a coffee shop. It was a cocoon. A stillness made physical. A reminder that the world could be gentle, and quiet, and slow. You felt it in your chest, that rare, precious sense of enoughness. You didn't need to do more. Be more. Think more. You could just be. And somehow, in a world that always asks for more, this little place whispered something different. You are already exactly what you need to be. The fire dimmed slightly as the logs settled. The cat stretched, then padded softly toward your chair and curled beside your feet. You reached down and gently stroked its fur, soft and warm, like touching peace. You closed your eyes. And the café held you. Like a lullaby with walls.